States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented by the clerk of the January 14th meeting.
Councilor Trombley made a motion that the minutes of the 1/14/08 organizational town board meeting be approved and submitted by the town clerk, seconded by Councilor Devens. Roll call, Councilor Lattimore. Yes. Councilor Dino.
Yes.
Councilor Devens. Councilor Trombley.
Yes.
Supervisor Speaker.
Yes. Okay, at this time, we will open up the public comment session. If you would like to address the board, please address the board as a whole. Stand, state your name and your address and what you'd like to say.
Willie Calvitis, 691 Fisk Road, West Chazy. Back in the December meeting, I presented to the board a petition signed by a number of people in town of Chazy with regards to seeking a new individual on the planning board. Now, the last meeting at the planning board, I sat in disbelief as I watched the chairman bring up his own issue while chairing the board on his own business. Now, I've got copies of the minutes, or of the agenda here. I've got 4 copies. I don't know if all the members are aware of this issue. I've spoken to Mr. Spiegel. I don't know what action he's taken, but this is highly irregular and quite unethical. And I recommended to Mr. Spiegel that the board appoint an alternate to the board for issues when there is a conflict of interest or some other member cannot attend. Now, I think there should be an alternate chairperson appointed when he brings this agenda forward. And I think it would be well within the town's authority, and I think it would be a prudent decision on behalf of the board. Thank you.
I'd just like to make a comment on what happened, just so that the board knows. Tom did make what's called a sketch plan review in front of the planning board, which is when he kind of describes what he is intending to do or the business that he's going to conduct. Like anybody else would come into the planning board and tell them they want to open a flower shop, they want to do this, whatever. And apparently that's totally legal. A sketch plan review is legal. When the planning board starts discussing his proposal, he's well aware that he cannot have anything to do with it. At that time, they are going to appoint a vice chairperson or somebody to take control of the meeting at that time, and he has to abstain from any speaking at all. It's up to the board to discuss what stipulations they want on his new business, if there is any stipulations, etc., but he's well aware of that. And he, obviously knows that this part of the plan was totally appropriate and he didn't do anything wrong. But when they discuss any part of his business in the future, that when they get down to approving him or disapproving him, he can't be a part of it.
Well, his business was discussed.
Yeah, and it was called a sketch plan review. It would be like you coming in and starting a business and saying, this is what I intend to do. But when it comes down to actually them, they haven't approved anything yet. All they've done is talk about it. So when they discuss anything from the future, he's got to abstain from, if they put stipulations on it or whatever, and he's aware of that. He's got to abstain from any comments, anything. He's got to totally stay out of it. And they plan to put a chairman in place. They're going to vote on who's going to be the chairperson for that meeting, and Tom's just got to sit back and watch.
So that issue is coming back up?
It will be coming back up, yes.
Mr. Butler, isn't that the legal way of handling it?
Yeah, what Staub is, Supervisor Spiegel is describing is it's an informal process that the planning board has, so that if somebody's coming in, or before they go through the process of drawing up plans and things like that, that they come in on an informal basis and describe what they'd like to do, so they can get at least some feedback from the board on a preliminary level, you know, so that they know what to try to address with their surveyors, engineers, or whoever else is putting the plan together. So it's fine that he acted, you know, in that manner to the extent that we discussed on an informal basis. But I think the supervisor is correct that, you know, he certainly cannot participate in even the discussion. He shouldn't. If he's an applicant, he needs to remove himself from the board as far as voting or discussing it as far as the board. You know, they allow the applicant to make a presentation, but when they take up their discussions, he shouldn't participate in that whatsoever.
Now, when the board is discussing it, if the board should ask him to clarify something, then it's okay for him to respond.
Absolutely, but he
It's
can't
not
participate in their discussion if they want
He
him to
can't
clarify something as
participate
an
when it comes to
applicant.
making the decision.
Right,
He needs to
correct,
stay out of that.
correct.
But the way
Needs to
that he
abstain.
presented it, it was not unethical, it was not wrong,
Right.
the way he did it.
I don't know exactly what happened as far as the minutes, and if he was still sitting as chair, and,
He
that
was.
role can become confused a little bit,
He
and
was
I
sitting-
can see Mr. Calvice's concern.
Uh-huh.
So, Mr. Dashnow needs to be very careful.
He's very aware, and
Yeah,
I made him
how he,
aware, and he
handles
said,
himself.
I know I have to stay out of it.
It's a
He
very,
said, this is basically a sketch plan review where anybody can come in and discuss what their project is,
right,
but when it comes down to decision-making, I can't be part of it, and he's aware of that.
right. And there's no real decision-making component to a sketch plan review. They're just trying to, it's an opportunity, and you don't have to do it, I don't believe. It's just an opportunity for the applicant to come in and try and basically run things by the board to see where there may be concerns that he's prepared to then address when he makes his full application. There are I don't know if the board has alternate members. Do you appoint alternate members to the planning board? You can establish alternate membership, and sometimes boards or as town boards, you want to do that, because that way an applicant, for instance, like Tom Dashnow or even Mr. Calvitis, they need a vote, an affirmative vote of, say 3 members of the board, and if there's only 4 for a zoning board of appeals use variance or something, if there's only 4 there, they run the risk of, having to get 3 out of 4 votes. And if 2 people are opposed, they can't get their majority vote or something. So sometimes you can establish alternate members like that. And it's also a good place for people that may be interested in serving to, have an opportunity to go and see what the board meetings are like, and then it gives you a good source of turning around and saying, well, this person served as an alternate member for 3 or 4 years. We should move, now that there's a vacancy, move them up to a full membership position. But that's sort of separate apart from the issue that he's raising with this other application.
It seems to me that when we did this, we had left it up to the board to appoint their person to take over in the absence of the chair.
Sure, as far as them appointing an acting chair, but what I was talking about is just general alternate members that you can name, I think it's up to 3, but it's up to the board if they want to establish those positions, and again, that's something really separate and apart from
And
what.
it doesn't have to be one of the board members?
No, correct, it does
It
not.
can be.
As far as the alternate chairman, you mean?
Yes.
Yes, it can. It should be one of them. What I was talking about is general alternate members that you would be appointing.
But I think
Sorry,
back when we organized that, we had left it up to them to appoint their own co-chair.
Okay, certainly you can do that. But otherwise, yes,
Because
it
they're
would
the
be
ones
among, they
working
would have to
within that
vote among them,
board.
or you would appoint a vice chair of the board, but it would have to be a member, a voting member.
Yeah.
How many members are there on the planning board right now, Scott?
5.
There's 5. And you said that you could have alternatives?
I'd have to check, but I think we had done up to 3. I think you can appoint up to 3 alternate members. And then when there's a member absent, they can sit in that person's place.
Because what do you do in a situation such as this when you have Mr. Dajna coming to the planning board, and you have the other 4 members sitting there, isn't there some type of conflict of interest because of his involvement with the planning board right along?
Not really, I mean, it's not per se conflict, he just, because of that conflict though, he can't, I mean, he has a right to go and apply for something to do with his property, to go to the planning board, but he can't in any way involve himself in the decision-making process
Right.
or vote. It's, it'd be no different than one of you wanting to come to the town board for some issue, you just shouldn't participate in that decision process.
Do you have an individual in mind that you'd like to, for the alternative?
Well, I think, it should be somebody on the town council that approaches these people. I've got a couple people that I've talked to when I circulated the petition that were interested in serving on the board. I was gonna nominate one person tonight that I submitted the petition, but I wasn't recognized by the floor. Dick Mata expressed an interest. Donnie Waller said he'd be interested as being on the board.
Would these people be at or attend every planning board meeting?
I don't see why they wouldn't. Dick Mata has been chair of the board in the past.
In the beginning.
Donnie Waller, he's got a law degree. I'm sure he'd be qualified.
Any discussion, any comments?
I think if these
Well,
people are interested, I think they should come forward.
Right.
And inform us. So, somebody could get that message through.
By form of
I mean,
Well-
letter.
We need to know if the board is open for an alternate.
I certainly don't have a problem with the alternate as long as, that they're willing to be committed and
I agree.
I have no problem.
no problem whatsoever. But we always have a problem getting people to step forward, saying they even have an interest in serving on these boards.
Yep.
We always have this problem every time a term becomes vacant. Nobody comes forward.
I think it's important too that they attend all the board meetings, only because we wanna make sure they're on top of the issues, and we just don't call them and say, hey, Joe Blow can't make it tonight.
And
Can you step in? And they don't know, really what the discussion's gonna be, so I think it's important that we make sure that person attends all the meetings, so they're up to date on.
Well, in this day and age with the agenda and with the minutes, with just a click of the keyboard, they could be sent email, all the
Yeah, but you
information
have,
from
you
all
have
the
to have a
minutes.
person willing to do that.
Which is true, but yes, they have to be willing to commit the time to it. Even though they might not have a say during the meetings because they're only an alternate, which I believe that's the way it will work.
Correct.
They need to come to every meeting and they need to sit and listen and to be aware of what's going on, so that in the event that they are in a position where they need to vote, they need to be knowledgeable as to what they're voting on.
You
So
raise a
they need
good
to
point.
attend every meeting.
You raise a good point, Kathy, because my experience is it's very hard, it's even harder to find people to serve as alternates.
Alternates.
Because they have to
no
sort of
say.
sit through
Yeah.
these discussions,
And
and
not
yet
say
have no
no.
say in the end,
Right.
many times.
Right.
I mean, they basically have to do like you're doing now, sit and listen, and that's it. That's all, that's what they'd be serving, what capacity, until they're needed.
Would they be able to comment during it?
Generally not, no, they're
No.
not
No,
serving
they're
as a
supposed to
member of the
sit and
board
listen.
until they have to.
Until they have to place a vote?
They can't.
Well, oh no, they would be if, for instance, on a Tom Dagenau project, we use that since we're talking about that as an example. If his project came up and, he was abstaining and taking himself out of the discussion process, then they could discuss and, be participating in that discussion.
One
but
of
it-
them, correct?
Correct, whoever was filling that position. But generally, they would not be, able to participate in the decisions if you had a full board
So during the normal
discussion.
or discussions, they would not be able to
Determines their
participate or
board.
have a vote
But
or
they
say.
don't have a quorum. If one's down, two out.
They got 5 members. so
But that's the
sure.
other thing, is that this person that's the alternative has to
So
be
two would
familiar
be
with a
out.
lot of the zoning
That's why it's
rules and
important.
laws, and it's important that it's somebody that
Could,
has an understanding of that now.
could two be
Sure.
out of the meeting
Yes?
and you still have a
Correct.
quorum.
If the alternate is there, if you establish this position, I have to look and see if it's by local law or by resolution, but it has to be a formal adoption or creation of those positions.
No,
by
but
this
are
board.
you operating with three before you go to the alternate?
No,
No.
whenever
No.
someone's not.
No.
Okay,
If he's there to fill that position, he can make a quorum, is what you're wondering about?
yeah.
Yes, the alternate can make a quorum.
So what I'm asking is three a quorum on the planning board?
Yes. Mhm. Yes, it is.
So you don't need the alternate until two are gone? Or
Well,
missing?
I think you would
Right,
want,
yeah, that's, the abstaining is.
right, because then you
The
don't.
abstaining creates a position where you can't get the affirmative votes you may need to get your project through.
Mhm.
It just gives the ability to, you know, a lot of times what happens in boards like that is that then it has, an applicant's forced to sort of say, well, don't vote on tonight, adjourn it to the next meeting you have, which might be a month away or 2 months away, because I want the full board to be able to vote on it.
But if somebody's serving on the board and they abstain from sitting on the board, it's basically unfair to have that individual convince 4 members or 3 members versus another individual in town having to convince 5 members, basically, before a vote is taken on
How
an issue.
how can a member be present and abstain from sitting on a
He
board?
just doesn't voice his opinion.
Can't participate in the discussion, just abstain from the voting. You shouldn't.
But just to do it for the sake of hopefully to have a resolution go down? Is that what you're saying?
Well, that can happen sometimes, but not to hopefully allow it to go down. They need to know by, in that situation, by abstaining, they're basically
And I thought
voting
the
no.
only time you could abstain is when it's a personal conflict, that you don't do it because you don't wanna say yes or no, you
Would
do
a
it
disclosure
because
of interest be?
of personal interest.
It isn't a good thing to do, Kathy. And some people misuse that
Yes.
abstain because they don't wanna make a no vote,
Exactly,
but it amounts to a no vote, and technically, you're not supposed to. I mean,
right, that's the point I'm trying to make.
you're supposed to disclose why you're abstaining, if
Yes.
that's,
And it's
yes.
supposed to be only for personal reasons, so.
Correct, for a conflict,
Right.
yeah, it may be personal, maybe business, it may be, yeah,
Right.
different reasons. but-
Bottom line, Willie, I think that you've seen tonight that the board's willing to take your suggestion up, and maybe you should have the person or persons that are interested come to the board meeting, or send us a letter,
Okay.
and tell us their intentions, and tell us their commitment about coming to the meetings, and then we'll discuss it further.
But it is a commitment on their part.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Joyce, do you have something for us?
Thank you.
Nothing? Okay, we'll close the public comment session then. And we'll go on to reports. Bill, do you have anything for us tonight?
I have a couple of things. I see one is, I made some comments about the dog control officer agreement you have with the proposed for the town of Moores. And my proposed revisions are on the agenda. I also, you have in front of you the local law for the veterans, Cold War veterans exemption, which was, they held a public hearing in January, and now that's available for adoption. Just because it wasn't clear to me in terms of looking at it, but real property tax law 458B, subdivision B, is the Cold War veterans exemption. And basically, this is gonna cover anyone who, you know, doesn't qualify for some of the other veterans exemptions you have, like Korean War, World War II, those. But if they were served in the military anywhere from 1945 up to 1991, and did at least 1 year of service. But they can't qualify for both either. This is, you know, if they don't otherwise qualify, because some of the other exemptions you put in place for war veterans are a little better, more generous, if you will, give you a little exemption than this does. But still, this picks up those people that couldn't otherwise qualify for those other exemptions. Third thing was I sent up a no parking. I don't know if there's any questions or things, but about that Scioto Road and that issue, or Gagno Road in relation to Scioto Park. So that's something the board can look at and think about if, you know, it wants to go forward. I don't know if the board has seen it, but it's something to discuss to address that citizen's concern that was here at the last meeting. Basically, that's it. Unless there's some other questions.
I do have a question about the the dog control officer.
Yes.
The liability for him traveling to and from to pick up an animal and if he were involved into an accident.
That's why I asked that he be indemnified for anything that occurs by the town of Morris. But, yeah, it's an issue, I mean, in terms of the insurance requirements. I don't know what the town of Morris does with him. I mean, if we had a true independent contractor arrangement, I normally would suggest that we have basically a Schedule A that I attach to the agreement that talks about, you know, the types of insurance, both automotive, liability insurance, workers' comp, the whole bit that they need to have. So I don't know what the past practice has been, with the town of Moores. It seems like this was something that was used in the past and just recycled with a different person's name because they now have a new dog control officer. But if we had the ability to discuss some of those things, I would much prefer to at least add the insurance requirements to
Yeah,
it.
do we get a certificate from them, Stout?
No,
We don't? We probably should.
See, well, the thing is,
I'm not sure if he's an actual employee of the town.
Is he
I think
contracted?
he's a contracted person.
So
but even as an independent contractor, he could still provide us, name
So
us
maybe
as
we should-
additional
We should
insured.
have him provide insurance and get a certificate from him.
Yeah,
I don't think it'd be a bad idea. What do you think?
no, I agree, that's fine. I didn't, you know, like I said, I did not know much about what his arrangement was, and it seemed like this was
How
something
much
that's
more is doing contracting with?
We contract through Morris. Yeah, I will write them a letter and find out how we can get this done.
I do, to the extent they want to go along with, or they adopt that second provision on indemnification, that's pretty good, because that's anything, or any claim arising out of any services he provides to the town, so, you know.
That, you think that
Insurance
paragraph
would
all
also be nice, but if we have that language, that's,
As long as they put that,
yeah, as long as they put that in the agreement, I'm comfortable with that over
I'll just say
insurance.
that we'd like to have that added to the agreement.
Sure. All right.
Sure. Dick?
I have to thank Bill for borrowing his glasses, or Chris was gonna have to read this for me. Just to let you know what's going on in the highway department, we've made a 50-inch wood splitter 3-point hitch to go on our tractor. We've probably got maybe, with the hoses and hydraulic stuff, $500 into it, which you're probably looking at, for that size splitter, probably $4,000 to $5,000, so we're set up for that. I'd like to thank Mike Russell. He loaned us his splitter, 3-point hitch, for our tractor, so we could split the wood that we had before our splitter was ready, because we couldn't get it ready before the cold. Snow plowing is, as you know, a regular basis. Sanding is a regular basis. And it just seems to be, we're probably down to certainly less than half of our sand and salt. I think we can make it, but it depends on the weather. The last thing that I have is I received a letter from the DEC pertaining to our sand pit in Moores. It's renewable year, and it says, I just got this the other day, it says is to advise you that your permit will expire on March 28th of 2008, and we have to get this back to them 30 days prior to expiration of this permit, or we could end up going back to applying for a permit instead of renewing a permit. So it's very important that we act on this within the next 2 weeks. As I spoke to you, I think the last meeting that you approved, Mr. Carey to do the surveying, Neil expressed an interest that he would do the permit, renew the permit for us, or help with the permit. We have to do some clarifying exactly where we are now, where we want to go. And now with a survey lot, we can do that. We can take GPS readings and do that. So it's not only Mr. Kerrigan, I mean, anyone who can do this for us, I guess it's Mr., I can't think of the surveyor's name that did it, the previous one. Lajway, Dean Lajway, thank you, Leo. I contacted him last year, but he's been so busy with the wind towers that he came out and met with me once, and he was supposed to get back and never got back with me, so. And also, I think we have a qualified person in the town of Chazy that's paying taxes in Chazy. I'd like to see that individual get the benefit of doing the work for the town. But I think at this meeting, we need something to authorize the supervisor to go ahead with payments, as long as it's, I can check around for other, other services, it doesn't have to be Mr. Carey. But we have to do something to authorize the supervisor to act on this when the time is right to get it done. We can't wait till the next meeting, so.
Now, what does the application involve? Just how much more you wanna go?
Yes, we have to apply, show, first of all, the oversight of the land. Secondly, the part that's been extracted. Thirdly, the part that's been reclamated since start. And where we are with the last permit, if we've used half of it, if we used a quarter of it, and where we want to go for the next 4 years. And I have no idea, because there was never any markers up there of what was, yeah.
Is he done the survey, everything?
Yes, yes.
Survey's done.
How were the lines to where you guys thought they were?
Actually, we're better off than we thought.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, because the fence line that was there was apparently, was not a property line fence. Well, I guess it was a property line fence, but it was a part of another parcel we had bought, that the fence meant nothing to us as far as property line. So, yes, we are better off in that direction. But, what I want to do with this is continue on and get a topo map and do some deep hole tests to find out what our reserve is for the next few years. I mean, right now, we have no idea. We got a lot of land, but it's not all sand. There's some stuff with clay in it, and it's not suitable for road salt, to mix with road salt. So we have to know what we have up there for usable, and maybe looking at purchasing another pit in a few years, because, we're never gonna do it with just pure salt like the state.
What's the pit like in Chazy? What did you have on the?
Just gravel, no sand.
Just gravel.
Yes. And just to let you know, right now, screen sand is going for about $4.50 a yard. So.
Now, has Neil given you an estimate or anything of what?
No, he hasn't. That's why I told
I just got this today.
Staub, I said, we'll have to get, he's coming back, I think he's on vacation someplace. I think he's supposed to be back tomorrow. I left a message on his machine. He's supposed to get back to me, and I just refer him to call Staub and let him know what the rates, per hour the rates would be for what he's doing. Some of
You
this
would have
stuff,
no problem getting it done in time?
I'm hoping not, because it's just a renewal.
May I ask a question? Did DEC ever give you aerial photos of from the past few years, how much was taken out? That might speed up the process and cut the cost down. Because if you ask them, they've got aerial photos every year of what's been taken.
Yes, and you're right, it's, they certainly keep up on it, because 2 years ago, the year before I came in here, they were in trouble for not reclaiming, supposedly they did reclaim it, but they had it in the town of Moores instead of the town of Chazy, which we were in compliance, but they thought we weren't. I have not contacted anyone at DEC at this point. The records that were kept in the past were very poorly filed, I should say. I don't know where they are, so I don't know at what point we are at. All I know is if we get once we get this application in, we're covered for renewal. If there's any tweaking to do after, they'll work with it, but this part has to be done. And a lot of this I can do myself, but as far as
Any approval. So maybe we should do a resolution tonight, giving the authorization to hire somebody to help us in this permit process.
well, that's who I'm gonna
Gary?
That's what I would suggest at this time, but I'm saying, you know, if I called and someone else could do it much cheaper, I guess maybe that's when you gotta draw the line.
The thing is, time is of the essence, and at this point, we've only got a couple
Well,
of weeks.
that's
so-
true. That is
He's
true.
done all the recent work. on it.
Right, that's what I would get was him, he's done everything, so he should be ready to go.
Neil will do it, or?
Well, just give me,
Neil.
a resolution authorizing me to locate a surveyor to help develop the mine permit.
Neil should be home, sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'll try Neil, I'm just saying, somebody, I'm hoping it'll be Neil, but if he's tied up or something, we'll have to find somebody else.
Okay, so you want a resolution to authorize the supervisor to locate someone to help with the
DEC.
DEC
mine
permit application.
Do you want the motion now? Or do you want it now? I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Are we gonna put a limit on that, a money limit, or no? Not needed?
And we're kind of in a position where
It's kind of hard to do that, because we don't know how much he's gonna charge per hour, I mean, it's,
Okay, the resolution has been,
You have any idea what it should cost?
motion has been.
I do know that it'll be less than a quarter of what it would cost to get a new one.
Yeah.
there's the resolution.
Resolution's been made by Kathy Devens, seconded by Jerry Dino. Any discussions? You were discussing it.
Well,
I got to say that.
yeah.
I'm not used to saying that. I understand I'm supposed to do that.
Mhm.
Well, we were discussing whether there should be a limit, but no one really knows what it should cost, so.
And in light of the fact that
There's
we
not.
have to get it done within a matter of 2 weeks,
We'll leave it to,
we don't have
To
time to
stop.
shop.
We'll leave that
Well,
at the
I'm sure
staff's
we've had
discretion,
it
I
in
think
Yeah.
the
that's
past, but that'd
reasonable.
be so far long ago, it'd be more.
stop and do some work.
It's on your shoulders.
Thank you.
Ready for roll call?
Yeah.
Counselor Lattimore?
Yes.
Counselor Dino?
Yes.
Counselor Devens? Counselor Trombley?
Yes.
Supervisor Speaker?
Yes. You have anything else, Dick?
No, that's all, thank you.
Chris?
I have a few things. I've received some phone calls in reference to people with burn barrels burning garbage. And I didn't know if there was a law in the town about burn barrels, but what came up is the burn barrels and people with the outdoor wood stoves were putting garbage in those and burning that as well.
They must have called you too.
So I don't know where we stand on that. One person brought up to me that they have a child with asthma, and when somebody's burning garbage, it affects their child from going outside because it flares up their asthma. Is there a burn barrel law?
There is no burning
No.
in Clinton County. You can't burn garbage.
But you can burn.
You can burn wood. You can
But
burn
can
wood.
you burn
and-
papers?
You can
or-
burn paper,
Yeah.
The
or
town has no burn law whatsoever or ordinance.
plastic.
We always refer everything to the New York State DEC.
Okay, so if somebody wants to
Or the
place a
enforcement.
complaint, who should they contact?
New York
New York
State.
State DEC and Raybrook.
So they would have to call them, like we
Right.
couldn't get,
They
like
would
Dumar
issue any
involved.
permits that
Because we don't
allow
have
any
a
kind of
law.
burning.
Okay. So as the town, we can't do anything to help these people
Not
with
unless we
complaints.
enact a town
Oh, okay.
local law.
But then you
right?
need someone who's going to be able to go out and enforce it.
Correct.
Mr. Dajna has.
May I respond to this? As far as the outdoor wood stove, we do have a law with the outdoor wood stove, and the factor involved is if it's a nuisance. If this wood stove becomes a nuisance, then it needs to have a stack put on it. So if it's an outdoor wood stove, the town can handle it. If it's garbage, then it's out of the town's hands.
This gentleman came into my office too, and he's, I believe he's from Scioto, if I remember correctly. But anyway, he's got a gentleman right beside him that has a wood stove about 300 feet, and our law states that if it's 250 feet, then, which it's a little bit farther
Yeah.
away, he says. He does say it's a little bit farther away, but the stack only goes up maybe 4 or 5 feet.
But we've got a nuisance clause in there,
Yeah.
that if it does become a
It covers
nuisance,
it.
and we gauge a nuisance by complaints.
And then that way his stack should go at least roof high to the nearest building, which is his home. So maybe we'll have Mr. West investigate the wood stove, and apparently it burns in the summertime too because the gentleman's heating his hot water. So it's quite dense and it's very hard for him to go outdoors, but we'll have Mr. West.
Was that Steve Rasco?
Yes.
Okay, because he talked to me about that also, that's why I was bringing it up.
So maybe we can have him, talk to him about maybe raising that chimney up roof high if it is a
His wife's
nuisance.
on you, and
Yeah,
it shouldn't be
well-
burning it in the first place.
Well, no, it's not him, it's
Oh,
his
it's not
neighbor, and his wife, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's why
Yeah.
the complaints, yeah.
So they can't even open their windows in the summer or anything.
And he's got a legitimate
Yeah.
complaint. She's got.
The other thing that was brought to my attention, is if we could put, or get some type of sign to put outside in front of the town hall, as far as when there's a boil water in effect. I know we put it in the paper and on the radio, but like that last time we had the emergency where that line broke and there was boil water, some people weren't aware of it. So I don't know if we've ever considered about getting some type of sign to put out front to say, you know, boil water, or there's a town meeting on February 11th, or,
I was thinking about bringing that up, where we have one of those
Did you?
white signs that we have black lettering on, we can change saying, town board meeting tonight, boil water notice in effect. Something like the school's got over here, but something that's movable,
yeah.
good idea.
I thought that was a very good idea. And the last thing I have is where we stand as far as for the grant for the building, for the town garage, for the sand. Have we done any more on that, or has that just been stopped?
We're supposed to be notified by Melissa,
Maybe.
what's her name?
McManus.
McManus. She's supposed to notify us when the round of grants comes out. She's actually kind of in charge for us. And she's supposed to let me know when the rounds come out. They were expecting it to come out in January, but when New York State decides to put that type of grant out again.
Okay.
So she is gonna be notifying us. We're just investigating it at this point anyway. I don't think we made a firm commitment or anything money-wise, right, Dave?
No,
I mean, we got some drawings, we got some ideas, and she's supposed to do some investigation about, I guess what it is because of, we wanna put in, as a salt shed, and we had to find why we needed it, you know, what it's doing to our grounds, what we're trying to prevent as far as, you know, pollution of sand going into the ground, et cetera, how it's affecting our water,
through our Clear Water Act, right?
so. But we are still waiting for her to let us know when we can apply.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Jeremy?
Just getting back to the burning barrel thing. Now, the nuisance law or whatever wouldn't apply to that because we don't have any ordinance on that whatsoever, right?
Yeah, that's, it would only apply to the zoning law.
Right. Okay. Now, is that something that anybody thinks that we should discuss further, or? I know we've had people come in here before and
I think
complain
in
about
the
it.
past, one reason why we've kind of stayed
It's
away
an
from that is
enforcement
because
thing.
it's an enforcement issue. If you're going to have a law, you need someone who can enforce it, and if not, there's no sense in having a law.
I think DEC's got a proposed law that bans all burning. That's,
What we'd
In the
recommend is
process.
when people call in and they say, hey, somebody's burning garbage in their barrel, we recommend to
Okay,
them
that's
that they
it.
call DEC,
Mhm.
sorry,
Okay.
stop. Apologize for that.
All right. The other thing, I stopped by the West Chazy Fire Department, the new fire truck is in service and looks great, they're very, very happy. They were training everybody on it and they're quite pleased with it. And I have a question I'd asked them, Bill, right now. I was approached about being a fire commissioner. Is that a conflict of interest if I'm on the board?
I would think so, but I
Because we
check on
approved
it.
their,
Yeah, we could-
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
their
is.
budget.
their budget, but we really can't deny their budget.
Not anymore.
We have to
Yeah.
accept what they give us.
I can get you an answer on that.
Okay,
That is true, we can't,
right, so we really
we have to accept the budget
Accept.
as presented.
vote, really. Okay, that's it.
Kathy?
Nothing.
Okay.
No, well, how far did you get with the street lights?
The streetlights have been fixed.
No.
I faxed in Minor Farm Road, I went around to Church Street, did all of Route 9. So everything on this end has been done, and Jerry has done everything in West Chazy, but said he noticed that there's 2 lights out today, so he's gonna get that on the way home tonight, so.
On the
If
corner,
you hear or see anything, let me know and I can,
on the corner of the Dupree Road?
I went
That-
down
that
the Dupree
one's-
Road,
That one's been out for over a year,
well, I faxed in, I'll tell you what I faxed in.
and now there's another one out down there.
I'm very efficient.
I know you are.
There was one on Church Street that was out, it's in the church parking lot, the light was out completely. And that was the one that's got a children's no, slow down children sign on it. There was a pole on the left side of the school down here, as you go into the driveway of the school, the pole right there was out. The corner of the Minor Farm, or near the Minor Farm down near Lawrence Kirby's house also, I noticed one. Those are the 3 that I found. Now you're saying where is it?
But anyway, you got one on the corner of the Dupree Road that's been out for over a year. You got one down on Grant Lane that has been lit every day, during the day.
And out in Lake.
And when you say it's on the corner of Dupree Road and where?
And that one there has been that way for close to 2 years.
Okay, Dupree Road and what, corner of Dupree and Route 9 or?
Yeah, it's right there on the corner. I think there's another one on the Dupree Road.
Because when I went that night, everything was lit. I mean, I went down as far as Chazy Orchards. I went, actually got all the way down to Stetson Road and came back. And then I went down to Dupree Road and I'll find it.
It's right on the corner.
Okay. It's easy enough, we'll find it.
I do have
And-
something
Okay.
after he's done.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
I just want to comment on the sidewalk at the church. You know, how we had all the flooding.
Oh, yes.
It's good now,
Good. Conrad did take care of that.
and we did a great job.
Did you have anything else, Mike?
No, that's all right. The boys pretty much covered most of it there.
Okay. I'm gonna go over the fast stuff first, and then we do have a video to watch, which we need to get to, because it takes a few minutes. Find the list here. Just wanna let the board know that Conrad's been out with a shoulder problem. He's been out for a couple weeks now. He's got a, I'm not sure if it's a pinched nerve or what, but he's been out for a couple weeks, and we've been very happy that Tom Roberts has filled in for him, and he's doing a great job coming in when we need him only, and if pumps go down, he's been pulling the pumps and repairing them, so he's been doing a great job, and so we hope that Conrad has a speedy recovery. But
Did he get hurt at work?
I guess he's out until the 16th apparently. What's that?
Did he get hurt at work?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
I have not been, I had a conversation with him and he didn't know if it was a cold in his back or, but I asked him if he did anything here that might have caused it, and his comment to me was no. So where we go with this, I'm not sure, but that was his comments to me, and we documented it when I spoke to him, so.
Okay.
And you have had to file a report within a certain amount of time.
An injury report?
Yeah.
Well, Staub asked him, he
Yeah.
probably should have filed it at that time that happened here, yeah.
So you'll be protected, that's what I'm
Actually,
saying.
I'm
We will be protected.
not sure if I let our insurance company know. Should I let workers' comp know that there might be a possible claim?
No, because he already denied it, but he filed it to disability, right? He gave me the disability claim form.
Not yet. But we should.
He should.
Okay. Yeah, as far as I know, it's not a workers' comp claim, so. I already told you about the light outages, so that's done. We did submit the Masonic Lodge request, and that is been forwarded to Watertown. I got a letter from the a gentleman in Plattsburgh that said he did forward it on to Watertown, so we're waiting for their reply. We did get a letter from the director of the Dodge Library, and basically it says, thank you for being so instrumental in having a sign placed on Route 22 that indicates that a library is here. I know that the Board of Trustees, as well as myself, are very pleased. You have been so helpful to us. And that's from Larry Hahn, director of the Dodge Library. So we did get his library sign up as he asked for. We got a thank you note from Latrimores, and it states, Chazy Town Board and employees, thank you for your kind expression of sympathy. Our family deeply appreciates your donation to the Chazy Fire Department in memory of Mary. With gratitude, Glenn and family. We sent a small donation to the cause. This is now a board member. And we do that. What we do is we usually send some kind of a condolence to the families of board members. Okay, the dog control officer agreement we went over. Local law for coal veterans, we're just cruising here. Let's see here. County Road, we're gonna talk about no time. We still have a small problem with dirty water at Alice Cody's house. The other day she called and she said that she had brown water again. So we're investigating. I went over to the school because I went and sat with Mr. Mulligan and their superintendent over there. Yes, and just kind of asked them, it just seems like for some reason that this problem always happens on a Monday morning. So I said, you know, do you do something that at 6 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning that might just jolt our system and cause the water stir up in that area? And the only thing that they could think of was that they fill the pool every single day. And they open a valve to fill the pool. Apparently the pool leaks a little bit of water. So they have a pipe about this big, a 2-inch pipe, that the water really cruises through that pipe. And it could be enough to stir up the system. The only thing that I can't tell is that they do it every single day and it's on a timer. So I don't know why it happens on a Monday. But what we're planning on doing is he's gonna, when the school goes on vacation in a couple weeks, they have a winter weekend, next week actually. When the kids are gone, he's gonna call me and he's gonna let that pipe run for about 10 minutes, and we're gonna call Mrs. Cody and ask her to watch her water to see if it gets stirred up enough from that pipe drawing the water to see if that could be a cause. I mean, it's just something that we wanna test, and no guarantees. It may have nothing to do with it, but we're gonna try it.
Now, something else that you have that happens on Monday is they have work night at the fire station. And if they have a fire and they come back and they refill their truck, if they're doing it there, we should,
And that's,
so you have to monitor that too.
yeah, we can actually ask them if they open any hydrants on, but it almost happens on Monday morning.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's early in the morning.
Yeah, but see, the fire department does their work night Monday night.
Yeah,
But it's Monday
but it's
morning.
Monday morning
Right.
when it's
Remember,
water.
we did the same,
It's always, every, no,
Yeah.
it's not every Monday,
not every Monday.
but it's always on a Monday. It's almost 90% on a Monday.
And they're the only ones affected? That's the strange thing, how
It
just
is.
one household would be affected on that
How about Janet? And-
12-inch line.
Yeah.
Could be something to do with her.
Once in a
Mondays.
great while, Woody Mail will call, but Mrs. Cody is the one that is the, you know, the one that calls most often, and it
Could it be
just,
something with her?
maybe once a
lines?
month.
So-
Does she just have old pipes? Could be coming from her lines within the house?
I don't know.
That's another question that I had.
So you got that old house that burned?
Do we have any filtration system after it comes out of it? Because, I mean, that buildup that's inside that water tank could be in your pipes too, that are supplying the houses. Or is there a special,
We don't have a filtration mechanism at this time. In fact, that's something I want to inquire about to see if there is a way that we can add something to the system that it filters it before it goes out into the pipes to catch the debris,
or
a better way to catch it, if there
big
is a
thing
way to
would
do it. I don't
probably
know.
be
Yeah, but
unfiltered?
I'm sure it's not gonna be cheap, but I mean, it's something that I wanna investigate and see if other towns may have that type of, because when you see the video tonight,
You won't wanna drink the water?
well, I checked with other towns to see what their opinion was, and they said this is nothing different, every town's the same. This may baffle you a little bit, it's very educational,
But that's in the
So-
pipes too, that sediment, I would think.
yeah, possibly.
Well,
Pipes at
I
home, too.
think,
Right.
Go ahead, sir.
Water pipe apart, every water pipe's like that.
Right,
That's pretty old.
but, I mean, there's a high iron content in the wells around here, as well as hard water, so would an iron filter fix a lot of that, where it takes the iron out?
Can I say something?
Yeah, but all your hydrants are iron.
An easy solution might be on these problem houses to install a flushable filter as it goes into the house on a temporary basis. If it is the town water that's causing it, the filters would reflect the debris. If it's within the house plumbing, the filter's not gonna catch anything, and the filter will always be clean, so you can isolate that problem very quickly.
By,
Right.
by installing a filter,
Yeah,
Yeah.
install a
water
filter after the.
as it goes into the house.
but do we wanna do it, install a filter, does the town
Well-
install a filter with
Well,
every?
it would give us an idea if it's within the house or outside the house, if we don't know
Isolate
where
the
the problem
problem.
is.
Put the filter after the meter is what
Right.
you're saying.
Right.
And then
Before it goes
connect
into
your house.
their actual
plumbing.
plumbing.
I think those filters are around
Because in
30
our,
bucks.
Yeah.
in our line, it'd be in
So
that
spend
filter.
$30 to see where it is.
Yeah, we had filters like that on our equipment at IBM, and they had flushable pipes that you just back flush into a bucket and all the rest comes out. But if nothing comes out and you're not catching anything, then the problem is not in the town water system.
That's a good idea.
That's a very good idea, thank you.
Mhm.
So is
Has
this,
has the problem been reoccurring since they put in the new hydrant, or
just once?
just once?
I'd give it a little.
And have they been flushed
Yes,
since it's been in,
yes,
and they didn't have any problems then?
and it clears up. It always clears up, but it's something that's just moving the water really quickly and stirring it up, and when you get brown water, I mean, you know, there might be doing an old wash or something, and it, you know, has an effect on the clothes and, but it's always that one area. So, what are you saying? Are you saying that we should try a filter? Or investigate what it would cost to put a filter in to see if that's,
Investigate. it.
Well, it would,
It'd be worth
it'd be
checking
worth,
to see how much a filter would cost. You're only talking, you're only gonna do it on one right now, right?
if they're the only one having the problem.
well, I'm sure that Woody Mail would probably want one also, and
Or do
No,
you
no,
wanna wait?
you do it on the one that gets it the worst,
Yeah.
and that'll tell you, all right, we got a problem, the rest are getting it due.
Right,
okay.
right.
All right, I'll do some investigation then with the water company and see what the cost would be, and we'll have something for you next week.
And a way to do it, that, you know,
If it's a whole lot of money, maybe we could, still have you try what you're going to with the school to see if that.
Oh, I'm still gonna do that.
Okay.
Oh, we're still gonna do that exercise just to find out if it's enough to jolt the system enough to just stir up the water.
there's
And
something,
then we could say to her, then, you know, obviously it's the pool.
when Steve was over there, he was supposed to do that,
He's gone now.
and he never did it.
But how do we fix it if it's a pool?
Yeah.
You don't, you just tell them that it's because the pool's filling and it's drawing a lot of water through the system, and it's, unless we wanna still get the
Well,
filter.
they maybe wouldn't have to open it wide open, I think.
Actually, there is a way, he showed me that he can slow it down a little bit,
Yeah.
so he's gonna try that too.
Or change his timer, if it's on a timer, do it at a different time.
You can do the timer in the middle of the night when they're not up and doing wash, and then the water should settle itself down.
Right.
Okay, well, we got some things that we can try, anyway, we wanna try
All you got-
something to correct the problem, that's for sure.
All you gotta do is adjust the filter. Bite and let it go. And not have to do it all day.
I'll do that, try and see if they can do it at nighttime, about 2 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the morning. All we have to, it's all on a timer, so. Okay, we do, Dave Siskevich it's a hard name to pronounce, Skitzkavich, okay, see, I told you it was hard. Would like permission to attend some courses, and he's got 4 courses that he'd like to attend. Basically, one of them is it's called Leak Detection and Control. It's a full-day course at the town of Plattsburgh. It's $70 for him. He's also got a unidirectional flushing half-day course that he'd like to attend. That's at the Peru Volunteer Fire Department. That's $45. There's a water storage tank operation and maintenance course, half-day course, again at Peru Volunteer Fire Department. It's $45. And emergency planning for utilities.
Who
It's a
wants to
half-day
go on
course.
this?
Dave, our water superintendent.
We're going to pay for
I
a
did-
superintendent to go to workshops, to,
Well, this is what he would like approval for. That's why I'm asking.
Are these things that
Now,
are
let me ask you, let me just explain one other one. He wanted to do a black flow prevention. And it was $700, so I called the DC today and I said, do we have to have a certified backflow prevention license with our water superintendent? Do we have to have that? And she said, no. If you have somebody that has a backflow device in town, it's their responsibility on a yearly basis to get it inspected, and it's at their cost. So she said, you don't need to pay for that because the property owner is gonna pay for it anyway. And if the property owner doesn't pay for it for some reason and the town ends up paying for it, which I don't know why we would, but she said that we can put it on their water taxes as delinquent taxes. So this one was $700, so we don't need to pay for this one. And I'm like, sounds like he wants, in this case, it sounds like he wanted us to pay for,
yeah.
you know, his certification. So we're definitely not gonna do that one. Wanted to get some discussion on him attending these other ones.
Okay, on these, are these mandatory to keep up his license?
They do give him course hours. Or wait a minute, the first one gave him course hours, not this one. Let me see here.
Say he wasn't involved with us, in order to keep his license, would he have to take those courses?
I don't believe so.
But why would we even be paying for any of this when he doesn't only work for us? He provides the same services that he provides us. So why is he asking the town to pay for it?
Yeah, the first one, the backflow prevention, was equivalent to 20 training contact hours for him, so that should be his own expense if he wants
So
to do
that
that.
was, right.
Now, the
Now,
other
what I'm
ones,
asking, are these related to the same thing?
I mean, unidirectional flushing, that's just showing them how to flush systems from every direction. I mean,
And excuse me, but does he even do the flushing?
Conrad
Does
does the
Conrad
flushing.
do the flushing?
Yeah.
Conrad, he does help Conrad sometimes. But most of the time, Conrad does the flushing.
Right. So
But-
why is he asking us
So
to? do
Conrad
that?
should be going.
Don't
If
we
anybody does,
contract
it should
with
be
him?
Conrad.
He's not a town employee, right? We contract.
Contract him with him.
So,
It's his responsibility to pay for that. It's
responsibility
not
to
up
pay
to us
for
to
his training.
provide training for him. That's his problem.
if we
I
contract
was
with
just
him,
asked,
I-
shoot the messenger.
I'm trying not to.
why would that be like our garbage man asking us to send them
Will you train me how to pick up the garbage?
to go for DC training or whatever?
I don't think so.
I do have a question though that this does bring to my mind. What type of emergency service do we have for water supply if one were to arise in this town?
We're working on it with our emergency plan.
Oh, we are?
We're
Yeah.
not going to go to Dave to find out what to do. We might go to him for advice, but
What
we have our
emergency you
plan.
thinking of?
I'm
Power
thinking
goes
about,
out.
no, what I'm thinking about is we need some type of water supply for our people.
Mhm.
We're working on that, in our emergency
In
plan
our
that we're making,
emergency.
that we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, Dave has nothing to do with that.
He doesn't have anything to do with, okay.
Not that aspect of it.
So I take it that we do not want to participate. We'll tell him that's on his own.
I don't want to.
I don't, that's my opinion.
Do we need to vote on that, Leo, or?
I don't know. I wouldn't think so.
I don't think so, it's just discussion anyway, so.
Does anybody think that we should?
No, I don't, I don't think so.
Dave does, besides Steve?
Okay, that's all I've got. I do want to show this video. This is the video of the inspection of our town water. Like I say, This is very educational. But it's, from what I described, I did call a couple other towns and described what I found in the video and asked them if it was out of the ordinary, said absolutely not. So this just, it's 8 years old, and this is what they found. And then we can discuss, you know, certain things that we can do and at what cost. And they give, I have an outline of what they recommend and how much it costs, et cetera, so.
No popcorn?
No movie either.
This is job number 307145, Chazy, New York. This is a 200,000 gallon spheroid.
Can we hear it?
Right now, we're going to begin our inspection at the center of the tank at the ladder. Okay, as you can tell, the tank does have quite a bit of sediment at the bottom. All right, and right here we have our fill pipe. Straight across from that is our discharge pipe. We're going to go ahead and continue our inspection of the ladder. Okay, it is equipped with anti-skid proof rungs, a pole climb as a safety device.
We're on laptop.
You can see a little bit of rust in the riser pipe itself. There is sediment
I don't know how far you wanna go with this, I mean, it goes on for quite a ways, but what they do is, they have given us a booklet with pictures in it, digital pictures in it, of, condition of the roof, all these areas that they make suggestions of what can be corrected, and then they give us a booklet of the cost of the corrections. So what I'm gonna do is, for the next meeting, I'm gonna give a copy of this to everybody to look over, with the copies of the costs for corrections, and we can start discussing what we think we need to do immediately, and what we think we can do, and try to do a little bit every year to, but this is nothing abnormal, I mean, this is, and some of the things are very petty, but I just wanna give you an idea of how they actually do this. They go up inside it with a robot camera, and so, I mean, this goes on with this, just to give you an idea of how it's done. Do you wanna continue watching, or?
No.
Okay. Just wanna show you how it's done.
75-year run thing.
Right.
I believe it was like $1,850 to have it done, if I remember right,
And we're going into,
our 8th year.
we're going into our 8th year, and we should have done it in 5 years, so.
Any discussion, or, but I'd like to send pictures out, I'll send you copies of all that, so everybody can look at it and have a good idea for the next meeting, and we'll start
I
discussing
can't
it.
believe it's sediment,
That's all I have for tonight.
you know,
Anybody have anything else?
that looks like the dirt.
We'll go to resolutions.
Okay, the first one on your list is the addition to dog control agreement, the aforementioned lines that Attorney Favreau commented earlier.
What are you gonna make?
Sorry?
You're gonna make those adjustments? huh?
Yes, I'm gonna write to Moore's and ask them if they will add those comments to the contract.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Counselor Devens made the motion to adopt the resolution, seconded by Counselor Trombley. Any discussion? Roll call, Counselor Lattimore,
Yes?
Counselor Dino,
Yes.
Counselor Devens, Counselor Trombley,
No,
Supervisor, what did you say?
yes.
Oh. I didn't do
Woke you
that.
up, didn't it?
Yeah,
Woke you
Sounded
up.
like something. Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes.
Okay, the next one is a resolution adopting local law number 1 of the year 2008, Cold War Veterans Exemption.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Counselor Devens made the motion, seconded by Counselor Lattimore?
Yeah.
Did you second? Who seconded?
No.
I did, Jerry.
Yeah. Any discussion? Roll call, Counselor Lattimore,
Yes.
Counselor Dino,
Yes.
Counselor Devens,
Yes.
Counselor Trombley,
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes.
The next one is on budget transfers.
I'll make the motion.
I'll s-
Gary made the motion, Kathy seconded. Okay, Counselor Dino made the motion, seconded by Counselor Devens. Any discussion? Roll call, Counselor Lattimore,
Yes?
Counselor Dino,
Yes.
Counselor Devens,
Yes.
Counselor Trombley,
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes.
The last one is on payment of claims.
I'll make a motion.
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Okay.
Who second?
Chris?
Yes.
Yes, Steve. Counselor Trombley made the motion, seconded by Counselor Lattimore. Roll call, Counselor Lattimore,
Yes.
Counselor Dino,
Yes.
Counselor Devens,
Yes.
Counselor Trombley,
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes.
That's all I have.
Motion to
We
adjourn.
did this.
Yes.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion, second by Council Dean.